and in so doing, I want to say the following. Madam Speaker, first of all, this bill is one that has seen contributions for the last 4 months. As per the Constitution, a bill to amend the Constitution and as per our standing orders cannot...
Honorable Amollo Otiende, could you just move it first as is on the order paper?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I wish to move... I don't have the order paper. Could I get a copy of the order paper? Jack, get for me the order paper.
Give him the order paper.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I wish to move that the Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 4 of 2025, be read a second time. Madam Speaker, as the members know, this bill has been with us for the last 4 months, and it has undergone immense public participation, immense contribution by the members because of its importance. It is our hope, and it is my hope, Madam Speaker, as the mover, that this then will actually constitute the first amendment to the Constitution in the last 15 years. Madam Speaker, in terms of public participation, and as I mentioned in this House, this bill has seen the greatest public participation in terms of any bill or in terms of any amendment in the last 15 years. And a total of 224,000 persons contributed to this bill. Madam Speaker, in terms of support, this bill obtained the highest amount of support at 98.5%. And we realized that even the 1.5% who may not have supported it actually did not support it out of ignorance. They thought the question was whether CDF should be taken away, and so some answered no. So in answering no, they thought they were supporting the bill, yet it constituted an opposition. But 98.5% supported it. Indeed, Madam Speaker, in terms of if it was to go to referendum, we are persuaded that this bill would receive overwhelming support. But we have not found it necessary to take it to referendum. First, because under Article 255, it is not necessary to take it to referendum. But secondly, the cost of referendum is one that we may not need to incur unnecessarily on such a matter. Madam Speaker, this bill seeks to constitutionalize the issue of CDF. Almost everyone has always supported CDF, but there are those who have sought to challenge it based on the Constitution. We seek to remedy that by putting it in the Constitution itself, so that it's beyond the constitutional question. Under Article 2.3, once we do that, then it will be beyond challenge, because no one opposes the idea of the CDF. They have been opposed to the role of the members of parliament. They have been opposed to certain functions that have been included in the CDF Act. Madam Speaker, it is important to understand that under the preamble to our Constitution, we as the people have the sovereign and inalienable right to determine the form of governance that we desire. That form of governance is as captured in the Constitution, but it is also as we may desire and amend the Constitution from time to time. We believe that it is time to entrench the idea of CDF in the Constitution. A constitution is not the Bible, as summarized in the 10 commandments. A constitution is a working document that can be adjusted, it can be changed as the people may desire. Constitutional edits are therefore movable and can be added to or removed. This amendment is essentially a minimalist amendment entrenched in terms of Article 204, which in our opinion is the best place we can place this one. It entrenches the three funds as captured in the document, and for the avoidance of doubt, two things. One, it only relates to matters which are within the exclusive jurisdiction and functions of national government, not any of the functions of the counties. And secondly, it is restricted to monies appropriated for the national government share of revenue as per the Division of Revenue Act. Those who think and those who say that we should abolish CDF and take it to the counties ought to know that even if we abolish CDF, these monies will not go to the county at all, and they will not do those county functions. This bill avoids the complaints that have commonly arisen, and there are three. One, that it might affect county allocations. It does not. Two, it gives no role for a member of parliament on the face of it. Thirdly, it does not affect the doctrine of separation of powers. And let me speak to the idea of separation of powers. Separation of powers in the Constitution is mentioned only thrice in the context of devolution. Separation of powers is a constitutional principle. It is necessary, but it is not absolute. You can adjust it as the country may desire. And in our constitutional design, we have adjusted it in two fundamental ways. One, in the traditional doctrine of separation of powers, the executive holds the purse and the sword. In our constitutional design, we have moved the purse to parliament. It is parliament that determines the allocations in terms of the budget. That is an adjustment of the doctrine of separation of powers. Two, the judiciary is supposed to be mandated to interpret the Constitution and the laws. But in our case, we have created a judiciary fund which would not accord with the traditional doctrine of separation of powers. Because in our unique situation, it was necessary that we protect the judiciary in terms of funding. But we have even gone further. We have created constitutional commissions and independent offices that do not fit within any of the three traditional arms of government. So all those who usually come and sing separation of powers in respect of CDF should be able to tell us, how does these three things accord to separation of powers? Separation of powers is a doctrine that was considered hundreds of years ago and cannot tie our hands in this day and age if it is necessary. But of great importance is that the idea of CDF as provided for in this bill does not offend separation of powers. Madam Speaker, it is also important to understand devolution versus decentralization. There are those who think that because we have devolution, any decentralized funds are then unconstitutional because they are affecting devolution. That is not so. A keen reading of Article 6 and Article 10 requires that even those functions given to national government need to be decentralized. And that's why we have decentralized funds in terms of roads. We have decentralized funds in terms of women, enterprise, youth, and Uwezo. And therefore, and no one has ever challenged any of those decentralized funds, there can be no challenge to decentralization in terms of CDF as long as it is within the function of national government as provided in this bill. Madam Speaker, there's a common misconception by some governors in the thinking that if you kill CDF, then you will get more funds to the counties, and therefore they will have more funds to use. I do not want to speak to what governors do with their funds for now. But I want them to understand that even if you did not have CDF, these funds will not go to counties. They will remain at the national government level. And if they remain at the national government level, we will be going back to where we were decades ago, where for any member of parliament to even enable construction of a toilet in a school, you will have to seek the appointment with the president and tell him, Mr. President, I need 400,000 to construct a toilet in Chianda Primary. For all the members of parliament who are here, that will not be possible. And that will be taking us to the centralization of power that we are trying to avoid. But of greater importance, even if this money were to be given to the counties, it should be understood that it will not be used for the purposes for which CDF is currently in use. Counties are restricted to ECDs in terms of education and village polytechnics. Counties cannot have the authority to construct any classroom, any dormitory, any laboratory, or even any fencing anywhere. So anyone opposing this should think that who then will have that responsibility of helping our primary schools, our secondary schools, our universities? It should be understood that the bursaries that we are currently providing for within CDF will not be given by the counties. Counties cannot give bursaries beyond ECD and village polytechnics. And in fact, as we speak, there's a High Court order stopping counties from issuing any such bursaries. It should be understood that the effort that we now have of helping the judiciary help Kenyans access justice by constructing courts will not be possible. As we speak, about 40 courts have been constructed through the use of CDF, the first of which I am proud was in my constituency in Rarieda. It should be understood that counties cannot help in construction of police stations because police stations, in terms of security, belongs to national government. It should be understood, Madam Speaker, that the idea of solarization of energy that many constituencies have undertaken in schools will not be possible. In terms of fishing, and because I come from a fishing community where we even provide for speedboats and all through the committee, that will not be possible. Madam Speaker, of importance, the history of this bill is that it is founded on the National Dialogue Committee. The National Dialogue Committee, the first phase of which Honorable Murugara and I chaired, and the second phase that was co-chaired by our leader of majority, and Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka, expressly recommended the entrenchment of CDF in the Constitution. And to the extent that the NADCO report is a reflection of the wishes of Kenyans, we are merely agents of implementation of those wishes. Madam Speaker, I think that it should be understood, and the report is here, we had public participation, which was immense, which was widespread, and it is encapsulated in this 500-page document by the greatest number of Kenyans who have ever participated. Madam Speaker, I think there's not much more to say on this, except to say that it is in keeping with the wishes of Kenyans. It is in keeping with the doctrines of constitutionalism. It is in keeping with the desire to decentralize power in terms of what we have called imperial powers of the presidency. It is in keeping with the service to our constituents in terms of representation that the national government constituency fund should be entrenched. And we have studiously avoided use of the word development because some people have an issue with the idea of development. We are focusing on decentralization of the funds and the functions. The details of how all these three funds will be implemented will come in subsequent legislation. There can be nothing unconstitutional in terms of entrenching these funds. Madam Speaker, I wish to call upon the Honorable George Murugara to second. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Gigi Murugara.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, as I stand to second this bill,